Hi, my name's Helen Herring and I'm from Rochdale Educational Psychology Service. Welcome to the fourth part in our series about play and resilience. First, a slide just to remind you where you can go if you want any more information about how services in Rochdale are working to keep everybody safe. And then on to our first quote. Play reduces the stress chemicals in the brain, which affects the child's mental and emotional well-being. Just another reminder of how important play is. Today we're going to talk a little bit about positive chemicals that are released in the brain during times of connection with others and during times of play. And we're going to think about specific types of play that can support the attachment relationship and also will help with laughter. So, the power of joy and laughter. Hormones are powerful chemicals produced in the body and brain that affect our feelings and behaviour. So examples of these chemicals would be opioids, oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. You might have heard of a few of those before. There's lots of research looking at how those chemicals affect the developing brain and affect our moods and our emotions. Research has shown that laughing in particular releases dopamine, which can create a sense of euphoria, so that sense of joy. Also, laughing's been found to reduce stress hormones, such as cortisol, to promote relaxation, to improve our immune system, and to reduce levels of anxiety. That sense of intense joy can help us to feel really alive. If you think about moments where you've been uncontrollably laughing and having that huge sense of joy, it really, really lifts you and you can remain lifted for a period of time after. And that's due to the chemicals that have been released in your brain. Research has shown that the brain has the potential for you to feel joy, but it's that human connection and that interaction that we have with others that can actually mean that we do experience that feeling of joy. Without that connection, then we can't have joy. So positive social interaction supports the release of oxytocin, which has been described as a feel-good chemical. A researcher called Margot Sunderland has talked about how repeated activation of feel-good brain chemicals allows children to develop their spontaneity, their drive and hope in order to follow a dream, and their ability to feel awe, wonder, and delight. All things that we want children to experience. And it's about having those feel-good chemicals activated within a positive relationship so that children feel safe and secure and able to go out and explore the world. We're just moving on to think about something called attachment play. Now, a developmental psychologist called Aletha Solter has written a book called Attachment Play: How to Solve Children's Behaviour Problems with Play, Laughter and Connection. So this next section is information taken from her book. The book is aimed at children between 0 and 12, but the activities can be adapted, and also many children that have experienced any sort of adverse early experiences are often emotionally a little bit younger than their chronological age, meaning that they can enjoy younger types of play. Aletha Solter has looked at non-punitive forms of discipline, so how to support your child to develop a sense of responsibility without punishment, and also she's looked into trauma and attachment theory. So when you play with children, you meet their need for connection and you help them to feel loved. Another pointer for why play is so important in a relationship. When you play with a child, you help them to charge their emotional batteries. So we've talked previously about how play can help develop problem solving and thinking and skills such as that, but also it will support children to develop their emotional skills. Laughter is a particularly beneficial part of play. Research has shown that laughter can reduce tension, anxiety, and anger. All of those feelings are feelings that we know everybody can experience, but children from difficult backgrounds often can experience higher levels of anxiety and anger due to the experiences they've had previously. When children are afraid, it often comes across as anger. And through attachment play, we can help them to maybe work through those emotions or to experience different emotions and for that to become more normal for them. Laughing with your children and being silly is never a waste of time. Aletha sets out some general guidelines to attachment play. Again, something we've talked about a lot so far. Follow your child's lead. They are in charge of the play situation, and try to be flexible. So if you start off playing one thing and then your child wants to change the play go in a different direction, try and go with them if you can. Avoid teaching or correcting your child. At times when we're trying to develop their skills, we do want to offer some advice and guidance within play or within other situations. But when you're thinking about attachment play, that's not the situation for this. It is very much about going with the child. Try not to interpret or analyse the play. Think about if your child is laughing, you are probably on the right track. You are having an enjoyable experience if you're getting your child to laugh. Try to avoid teasing and tickling. This is particularly important for children that, again, have experienced any difficulties in their early life. Tickling can be quite a difficult experience. Tickling is something that is done to children. The adult is in control of the tickling. The adult is in charge. The child might say no. The adult might not be sure if they mean it or not and continue. Tickling can give you lots of different emotions and it can be a really confusing thing. So although some children might really enjoy tickling, many others might not. It's also okay to say that you don't want to play. As a carer or a parent, sometimes you will have other things you need to do, and sometimes your head will just not be in the place for play. And that is okay. When you are engaging in something like attachment play, you need to be fully there and fully with the child. You need to be not looking at your phone, the TV needs to be off. That time is for the two of you together and nothing else. So in the attachment play book, Aletha talks about 9 types of attachment play. Today, we're just going to focus on 4. I've picked the 4 that I think are most likely to help with getting your child and yourself laughing and having that positive connection through laughter, and also play that could be adapted for different ages. So the first type of play is nonsense play. The adult or child acts silly by making obvious mistakes or by exaggerating emotions or conflicts. This can be child initiated or adult initiated. So it might be that whilst you're having tea, you start to do something a bit silly and the child laughs, and then you continue it because you can see how much of that enjoyment is going on. The laughter that occurs when children engage in nonsense play can indicate that they're releasing any tension or anxiety that they might have. Power reversal games is the second type of play. This time, the children are very much in charge. For children that have experienced adverse early experiences, they may not have had the opportunity to be in charge. They may have had adults around them that were very much in charge of their life, their situation. Also, children can feel very much that they haven't had choices. In power reversal games, it's about that child having the choice and being in charge of the play. The laughter during the games can be therapeutic. It can help the child to release anxiety related to feelings of powerness. Aletha talks about the fact that adults can sometimes worry about games such as pillow fighting because it could increase the aggressiveness, but she notes that it can actually have the opposite effect because it allows the child to release pent-up emotions safely in an agreed play session. So the last 2 types of attachment play we're going to think about are activities with body contact and cooperative games and activities. So activities with body contact are really important because we need children to learn about positive touch and what touch is okay and what touch is not okay. It's really important if you are thinking about using games with body contact that you think about the individual child and make sure they're comfortable with it, and that you might need to start very slowly with some children, for example, not actually having skin-to-skin contact, but using something like a feather and doing it in plain sight so they can see that your feather is about to touch their hand, so they can watch what's happening. Maybe you might want to draw shapes and they have to guess the shape, and then you can gradually work up to more physical skin-on-skin contact like massage, or you can play active games like running around playing tig. Cooperative games and activities is the final one to think about. In cooperative games, everyone works towards a common goal, so there's no threat of losing. And if you think back to when we talked about loose parts play, for children, it's really important that they can push themselves and try things that they might not try normally. In cooperative games, they're more likely to do this because if something goes wrong, it's not necessarily their fault. It's a group activity. They're not putting themselves on the line in the same kind of way. You can engage in cooperative games through active play, but also things like making up stories or creating a picture together. That kind of cooperative play can also help to develop the bonds as well and the attachments between people. Things to try this week. Try to notice and use opportunities to engage in silly play. And just notice when you're laughing with your children and think about how they respond after that. Is it that you think they might feel calmer and more relaxed once they've had that connection and that sense of euphoria? For younger children who laugh a lot, you might see opportunities throughout the day where you can engage in nonsense play and have kind of laughter activities. For older children, it might be that you need to plan for these activities a little more. You might want to plan a time to watch a comedy show, to listen to a podcast, to have a daft disco. Who knows, whatever you think will mean that you and your child can engage in laughter together. As always, if you've got any contacts or queries, please get in touch with us using the email address. Let us know how you've got on with any activities this week. We'll be uploading part 5 next week, so please check back if you're finding the videos useful and informative. Just a few safeguarding contacts in case you've got any concerns. There's the Early Help and Safeguarding Hub, or the police, early help support, and the domestic abuse webpage. Thanks very much and happy playing.